Welcome back to Hoppline, to a very special episode. I've got the all-new Leviathan Pro 1360. I had it for a couple of weeks, and a little spoiler up front, I think this is the Leviathan Pro most of us have been waiting for. This is actually a very special episode for me. It's kind of a turning point and milestone in my YouTube career. For the first time ever, I had access to pre-release gear. Sabfoil gave me a call a few weeks back and they asked if I wanted to make a review on the Leviathan Pro 1360. They knew I bought the 1260, I bought the 1160, and I had a demo unit of the 1060. So Sabfoil ended up sending me a Leviathan Pro 1360, and for the first time ever, they offered me to keep the gear for free without any obligation. And it's just very important for me that you know that I'm allowed to keep this. My reviews are honest and non-biased, and this is what I stand for. This is what my channel stands for. And that's way more important to me than getting free stuff, free gear. And if you've watched my channel, if you have maybe texted me and I answered you, you know I am not doing this for selling. I'm not a salesperson. I'm doing this because I'm super passionate about foiling, about surfing all my life. And yeah, I'm actually a studied industrial designer, so I do have a high affinity to high quality gear. And I hope this channel will allow me to always get the latest and greatest gear out there to test and review and get this out to you. So what's going to change? Nothing's gonna change. Every time I get something for free, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm still not paid. None of the brands I work with is paying me for anything, and that's not gonna change because making a review and taking money at the same time just doesn't work for me. So I think that's covered. Let's get into the review, and trust me, there's a lot to talk about. In this review, I'm mainly gonna cover dock starts, pumping, how it rides, how it compares to the 1350, 1260, a little bit of waves and downwind, and then there's gonna be a second part talking about winging, light wind winging, wing foiling. So taking the Leviathan Pro out of the box for the first time, I was actually surprised how small it is. And if you're handling front wings on a daily basis, just a few centimeters do make a difference. And I looked at it and I was like, that's not 1360. And I looked up the specs, and actually this is just 1320. And this is different to the rest of the Leviathan Pro series. The 1260 has 1260 in span, according to the 1160 and 1060. So Sabfoil decided to shrink down the Leviathan Pro 1360 and make it even smaller than the 1350. So the next thing that came to my mind looking at the Leviathan Pro 1360 was the shape, and it just reminded me of the Medusa Pro immediately. We've got a little bit more meat right here. It's a little thicker in profile, and then it becomes thin and really narrow. And if you take the 1260 and put it next to the 1360, the 1360 is actually narrower on the tips than the 1260. The day it arrived, I took it out, I went for a running start, I jumped on the foil. It was first try, I pumped away, and I was like, wow, this is different to the rest of the Leviathan Pro, leaving me with the one main question: how can you have like different concepts within one line? So when the Leviathan Pro came out, I was probably one of the first to jump on it. I bought the 1260, was the first one I bought, then I bought the 1160. And if we look at the shape and the profile, this all makes sense. This is more of a speed concept, surf wavy concept, high aspect. It's a little bit like a scaled up version of the Razor Pro, well, probably my favorite wing at the moment. It's got a lot of speed, it still has a little bit of camber. The Leviathan Pro is really thin, so is the Razor Pro. So they are meant to go fast, and they really do. The Leviathan Pro 1360 is just a little bit of a different concept. It's got a little bit more meat, it's a little thicker again, not much camber. It's got a little bit of camber, not much, and it's really thin on the tips. And this combination allows a lower stalling speed. It's easier on the dock and ladder start, more accessible, but still very fast and turny. And I think this is the combination a lot of people have been asking and looking for. If you outgrowing a 1350 or 1150 and you're asking for more agility and more speed, maybe the Leviathan Pro 1260 was a little step too much, and I think this is a little step back and forward at the same time. So it's just a different DNA and it's a different concept. And like I said, on my first run, the first question I had was, how can you have a Leviathan Pro 1360 in the same line as a 1260? So the Leviathan Pros 1260, 1160 and 1060, there's a place for them, but I think it's a little step ahead of the 1360. It's faster, but it suffers a little bit of that accessibility. And if that's what you're looking for, this is a really good choice. It's faster, it can keep up with steeper waves, it turns even better because it's got a smaller wingspan. But if you're still looking for that ease of use, I think for a lot of people, the Leviathan Pro 1360 will be a really good, if not the best choice. So let's talk about build quality real quick, and both the old Leviathan Pros and the new one have the same construction. It's a solid construction. They are a tad heavy, but they are super stiff and rigid, and you can feel the rigidity in the water. It's next level. It sounds weird, but I think a lot of gear these days is just becoming better and stiffer, like the wings with the Alula, and you can feel the difference. And it's the same here. It's the same with the mast. I paired all Leviathan Pros with different masts. I tried them on the Puma system, my favorite system. I tried them on the 73, 73P, and also on the Red Devil 74 mast, and yeah, you can tell the difference. Puma was just too soft. I really like the Puma system. It's discontinued and it works perfectly fine for me on the small front wings, but even on the 1160 I could feel the twist and it was just not a nice set. 73 was okayish, 73P was nice, that was okay, but the Red Devil is just, you can feel the profile is thinner, it's cutting through the water like butter. There's almost no spray on the trailing edge and it's stiffer and you can feel the difference. So it's not a must upgrade, but it is an upgrade and you can feel the upgrade. So here's the new Sabfoil logo on the S370 that comes in the set. It's the same stabilizer, just new look. Same with the Leviathan Pro, it's got the new logo and the mast as well. So the S370 that comes in the kit is a really good choice. It's got all the speed you need because the Leviathan Pro 1360 is fast, but not the fastest wing out there. If I'm on faster front wings like the Razor Pro, I usually prefer the S325 because it's a little faster. But I made a comparison and I used the same setup and I swapped the stabilizer and it was both hitting the 20 kilometer mark on the 370 and on the 325. So let's talk speed for a second, and I dedicated a few sessions just to measure the speed on the Leviathan Pro 1360 pad with different sets and different stabilizers. On an average pumping, cruising ride, I would go 13 to 14 kilometers as an average speed, and I could push the limit more or less easily up to 20 if I wanted to. If you're going into turns, it's actually accelerating and it's really fun pumping tight turns. And even if you're breaching, it's not a problem, which makes it really forgiving during the start because you can still, if you're leaning towards one side, you can recover by generating speed and then just taking off in the other direction. I had a blast wake thieving on the Leviathan Pro 1360. It's been so relaxed on the ladder. If you know, it's 10 out of 10 on the ladder start. You can just enjoy the wake, and every single boat that went by, I was able to get into the wake and just ride for kilometers and kilometers and then pump, swim, or even walk back. The tiniest wake was enough for endless glide. The 1360 is still playful and nice because of the thin tips. And like I said, I'm only 65 kilograms. I think if you have a little bit more weight, it's even better. I think in small to medium downwind condition, the Leviathan Pro 1360 would still be a good choice. It's got a lot of glide, speed is pretty good. I think you could push beyond the 20 kilometers. If it gets steeper, the Leviathan Pro 1260 and 1160 are just faster, and that's where they excel. But in small conditions, I really enjoyed the 1360, and I would recommend it, especially if you're a little bit heavier and you want that extra lift in the beginning to get up or to stay on the foil in tiny conditions. So now where does that leave us for absolute newbies and beginners? Back then I made a pump foil tutorial, and I said if you can, get a mid-aspect foil for the first couple of sessions, because it's just a little bit more forgiving on not perfect landings while you're jumping on the board. If you're falling to one direction, it turns with you, giving you a chance to recover, whereas a high aspect is just stiff and won't turn. It's rock solid and you're just falling off to the side. The Leviathan Pro 1360 is a little bit like a mid aspect because of the thin tips. They can push through the water and there's not much resistance, so it's easier to recover. Now, would I recommend a Leviathan Pro 1360 to a newbie? Maybe yes. If you're light like me, if you're 65 kilograms or maybe 75, and you have a strong foiling background, some pumping experience on your wing foil gear, you could go for a Leviathan Pro 1360 immediately, and you're not going to outgrow it in a certain amount of time. If you're a little bit heavier, if your skill level is not right there, if you want something with a little bit more lift, more forgiving, giving you that little bit of extra time to replace your feet, the 1350 Leviathan might be the better option. So I hope we covered a lot of questions. I really enjoyed reviewing the Leviathan Pro 1360. It's been a break for me in the game of getting smaller and smaller, and this is actually what I was pumping before. It's the Razor Pro 875, and I was just on the game of getting smaller and smaller, but I was sacrificing relaxed and easy takeoffs. And now that I made this review, I'm gonna stick to the Leviathan Pro 1360, I think, for a longer period of time, because it allows me to pump longer. I want to hit that 5-minute mark. I want to hit maybe 10-15 minutes mark. It's got a lot of glide, but at the same time it's still turny. I can breach the wingtips, I can do more radical turns. It's got more than enough speed to keep up with the boats and the tankers I'm riding, and that was something I was struggling with the 1150 and 1350, and that's probably why I went into those smaller wings. I still like the Leviathan Pro 1160 for radical and fast pumping, but it's not as accessible as the 1360 is, and this is especially now in winter. This is just more relaxed. I can step on the ladder and I know I'm gonna be up and pumping first try, and this is a convenience I'm not gonna drop for, at least not for winter. So I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. I had a blast reviewing the Leviathan 1360. I think it's a funny story that we do get a Leviathan Pro with a certain DNA up to the 1260, and then a totally different wing, not totally, but I think it's got another DNA. It's got the DNA, the original Leviathan, the ease of use, accessibility. It's just that little upgrade everyone's been looking for. More speed, easier turns, a little bit more radical. So I'm pretty sure this will sell really good, and a lot of people out there will really enjoy this front wing. So if you have any questions, if I haven't covered your topics in this video, just leave a comment and I will get back to you. There's going to be a second part, like I said, covering wing foiling and light wind winging. So make sure to follow my channel to not miss out on the next episode.